This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Through the night, deep in the heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, Cat drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to King
Wow.
of the Hill podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
As always.
Absolutely.
Rusty, we're at season 6, episode 8, or 6ABE03.
Yep, this one's a little funky production number.
This one is one that came up a couple of weeks ago for us because we were talking about that renfair show.
Yeah, we were talking about that HBO special or whatever it was that you were telling me about, that Max, that Max special.
It's HBO. But,
is it?
No, I'm just.
Isn't
It's always
yeah,
HBO.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it's HBO. It'll never be Max.
It's always going to be
not
HBO.
my president.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This one
it's not
is
my live streaming service.
yeah, I don't give a shit. This one is called Joust Like a Woman. February 24th, 2002.
Is that maybe a reference to Bob Dylan's "Just Like a Woman"?
It could be, or it could be Stand by Your Man, or whatever.
Stand by your man. Taylor Wynette.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Right? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I know that.
I think it was Taylor
Me First
Wynette.
and the Gimme Gimmes do a great cover.
Yeah.
All right, so
you know who else does a really great cover?
Who's that?
John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh yeah.
Amazing
They
cover.
did a nice job.
That was a shutdown.
Blues Brothers.
Shutdown concert. That's probably one of the best concerts in a honky tonk ever.
The
It
one
was
where
only
they're throwing
2
the bottles.
songs. Yeah, so all they knew was they sang Rawhide like 30 times or whatever it was. Yeah.
That's a great movie. All right, we start this sucker no bell, no yell, because we are right smack
bell,
dab
no
in the
yell.
start of the season.
We're in the mix.
We start at Strickland Propane. Hank and a customer named Earl are outside while his grill is being loaded in the back of the truck. He says, "Enjoy that new Char King, Earl. I got to say, I really appreciate your business." And then Buck drives up, and Buck's just an ass. Forget
he is
him.
an ass.
Forget him, Hank. And you jump change. And then Earl gets pissed off, gets in his truck and drives off. And he goes, "I got a lead on a new client so big it'll put all my bastard sons through college."
Whoa.
The Renaissance Fair is in town. And he says it that way.
The
Yeah,
Renaissance Fair.
Yeah.
In town is kind of a weird thing to say, too. Like
That
it's
is like it's traveling. Yeah, those things don't usually travel.
Generally, they don't travel. Not that I ever know of. I did a little bit of renfair research vicariously through our...
The Triple R, renfair research.
Well, no, I did renfair research vicariously through
RFR.
Artie. So Artie really did the research.
Gotcha.
But I'm living vicariously through him today. So
I bet Artie's like a... What do you think he is? Is he a knight? Or is he a jester? Or...
No, I feel like he'd be an advisor of the court.
Blacksmith?
He'd be an advisor of the court.
He's like Little Hand or Little Finger or whatever it was in Game of Thrones.
I would call him a scribe, but I think that would be insulting because he's not like regurgitating what I'm telling him to say. A scribe is somebody who you would dictate to them and then they would write it because I'm too rich to learn how to write. What do I need to know how to write for? I'll talk it to you and you could write. That's how they were back then. That's what I mean. That's the whole point of having a court of people for
I
you.
get it.
Is you had a guy to take off your shoes, you had a guy to wipe your ass, you had a guy to wipe the snot from your nose. There's like 40 dudes doing something for you.
That ass wipe guy, that's a tough gig.
I hear they retire early.
He hands Hank a little invitation that says, "Hear ye, the Renaissance Fair of Arlen welcomes you." Of Arlen.
Yeah, I got a quick Renaissance Fair history thing. So Artie, like I said, I was living vicariously through him, through his research.
Yeah.
The first Renaissance Fair was actually in 1963 near Malibu, California, in a city called Agoura.
Oh.
By Phyllis and Ron Patterson.
Oh, the Pattersons.
So now they're tourist traps, money sinks, whatever you want to call them. I mean, I have generally a good experience when I go. I don't really have bad experiences at renfairs, but
you can spend a lot of money at one
yeah,
of
you
those
can.
things,
So now where they're all more whimsical and there's a little more of this and that magic into it. Back when it first was. It was more traditional. It was all there was no fairies and magic stuff. It was a place for living history.
You're right. All of that stuff has kind of seeped its way in.
Yeah, which is okay. The science fiction side of it and the fantasy stuff, I like that too because I'm a Dungeons and Dragons guy. So it began as a place for living history where you could take school age children, and they get to see how people would have lived in that time frame. And its first intended purpose was to be a weekend fundraiser for a radio station.
Wow. And it just blew up.
Yeah. So most of them represent historical periods around 14th to 17th century. But the biggest one now, of course, is what we were discussing before, which is the one near Houston, the Texas Ren Fair Festival. Which annual revenue of like a few $1 million.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: if you haven't watched that little documentary on Max, you really should because that guy is a total ass. These places are, and as we see in this episode, these places are not great places for women.
No, they're generally not. It doesn't seem like they would be.
It seems like misogynists getting away with stuff under the guise of, oh, I'm in the 1850s. I can do it.
Yeah, it's the 1850s,
no, that's
darling.
Not it. 1650s, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, Hank gets a little invitation, and he goes, hear ye. With all due respect, sir, do we really want propane mixed up in this sort of thing? Which I think is hilarious because anything that it's almost like he's got, or it's like the army or something like that. We have to make sure we uphold the pride and the everything surrounding propane. But
he is very prideful of propane.
Oh, very much so.
Because
Lady Propane.
She's not a bastard guest.
No, she is not a bastard guest.
C3H8.
Not like that Thatherton. Buck
I didn't tell you. I guess I'll tell everybody since we're here.
Oh.
I'm actually going for my citizenship soon.
Oh,
and
very nice.
There might be a GoFundMe link soon for you guys.
What does it cost?
It's like almost $3,000 at a time where I'm not like destitute, but like $3,000 is not just
still a lot of money
on hand for that type of situation and everything.
You're no renfair king.
No, but I'm going to celebrate it with a King of the Hill tattoo. So as soon as like everything's processed and I do my swearing in, I don't know what I'm going to get yet.
Well, if you get that, let me know and I'll go get one too, and we'll just film it.
Because what I thought about doing was getting Dale Gribble smoking a cigarette, but I want him with like one of those shiesty masks that he wears, but I want the mask to be an American flag.
Oh, there you go.
With him like smoking a cigarette.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think that's what I might get, or maybe a beer can or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get exactly, but I'm going to get something King of the Hill related.
I don't know what I would get.
I'm gonna get Bois too. I want to get the lettering just Bois.
Yeah, maybe.
And then something with that. I don't know.
I've never been a person who thought through his tattoos very well.
I've never gotten a tattoo, so
Really?
this will be my first tattoo ever. Yeah, I've always thought about the permanency of a tattoo, and I just really never did it because I thought how permanent a tattoo is. I just never do one.
I don't have to worry about being buried in a Jewish cemetery, so I just went and got whatever.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that either. It just I don't know. My dad never had. My dad doesn't have any.
Yeah. No, my dad doesn't either.
And it was just I just never had the desire really.
I don't know. I've got.
I rebelled in other ways. I just tattoos wasn't a point of rebellion.
Yeah,
because
it wasn't for me either. I honestly,
my dad was super adamant. He was like, no tattoos.
Honestly, sometimes I was just bored and went and did something. I've got like 16, 17.
Because that's what my dad says. If you weren't born with it, you don't need it. And he's not religious. He just thinks if there was one time when his brother, back when they were younger, had came home with an ear piercing, and him and my dad got into a fight. And my dad ripped it out of his ear, and he was like, "That's why you don't get ear piercings." He said, "If you want to scrap, you don't need earrings."
There you go. That's actually a pretty good
life lesson.
Rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So Buck, he says, last year I would have said, hell no, but it's a new normal, Hank. You want a Christmas bonus this year, and you sell them leotards every gallon you can. Hank drives up. Now we're with him. He's driving up to the fair. He goes through the service entrance, and the guy at the gate there is like, "Who goes there?" He says, "Hank Hill, assistant manager, Strickland Propane. I'm here to talk to Philip Motzinger." He goes, "You mean King Philip, but begging your pardon, you cannot pass in that horseless carriage a manner of dress, for they do not exist in our year 1590. And then there's like this big pregnant pause, and Hank goes, "Why don't you just cut the goofy talk and just open the gate?" And the guy cuts his accent and goes, "Look, Alamo Beer guy was cool about it." And so
yeah, can you be cool about it?
Just be cool, man. Just be
chill
cool,
out, brother.
All right, so now we get Hank. He's dressed in renfair clothes now, which is just ridiculous. And he's on a cart being pulled into renfair. Yeah. And the guy driving the cart, he goes, "There was a lover at his lass, and hey, iddy ho." He's kind of singing, and he says, "Join me." He goes, "Just drive the cart." They pull up to the king, and the guy says, "King Philip, my liege, I bring a merchant who wishes to display his wares." Hank gets out. He goes, "Hank Hill, Strickland Propane."
"So you are the keeper of the flame." Yeah, that's how he talks to you.
There's your
"So
king.
you are the keeper of the flame."
Assistant keeper of the flame. He goes, our kingdom is accepting bids from members of your guild. We require 1,000 stone a week of your magic gas.
Your magic gas.
A stone is, in your native tongue, a gallon.
And he goes, "A gallon." So I want to touch on that real fast.
Isn't this the guy from Harry Potter?
Yeah, Alan Rickman.
Yeah, it's Alan Rickman. Okay, great.
And it's a very exaggerated voice that he does for this character.
Well, he has to drop it too eventually.
Yeah, it's funny when he drops it. And
yeah,
because
like
himself.
honestly, the thing he's doing now is closer to his native tongue than when he drops it and pretends to be American.
Be an American accent, yeah. So I want to touch on the stone thing. So he says 1,000 stone a week, and then he says a stone is a gallon. A stone is actually a unit of weight,
right,
and it is actually like around 14 pounds. Yeah. So whenever you hear a woman say, "Oh, I lost 2 stone," she lost 28 pounds, which is a lot of weight.
Or maybe she was just carrying some rocks.
Or maybe she was carrying rocks in her pocket. I don't know.
So Hank hears this, and he goes, 1,000 gallons a week? What are you fellas doing with it? And then the king,
a lot of gas.
Oh, no kidding. And the king lights an arrow, or he has someone light the arrow, and he shoots it at a giant metal flaming dragon, and like ignites the flame in the dragon's mouth. And Hank looks at it and goes, "That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I tell ye what."
I tell ye what.
I just love that part.
Yeah,
I
like that too. It's good writing. It's good writing.
Man, he just slipped right into it. He goes, 1,000 gallons? Yep, I tell you what.
I tell you what. Yeah, that's a lot of money. All Hank sees right now is, commission. I wonder if he gets. Do you think he gets a commission bonus?
I doubt it.
You don't think there's any kind of like bonus structure?
I don't think so. No.
Maybe not for the assistant manager. You know what's probably this is probably the situation for Hank, and this is what I imagine it being: is that he is an assistant manager that gets paid the flat salary, whatever it is, but his salespeople on the sales floor.
Debbie used to get a bonus, but it wasn't monetary.
Yeah, not monetary. Well, it might have been a little bit of both. At least dinner.
Yeah, she got to go to Sugarfoot's.
Yeah, Sugarfoot's anytime she wanted. There, she had a good Sugarfoot's gift card. It was fully loaded. Yeah,
it's just a black card. It was the Sugarfoot's black card.
Yeah, so I feel like all his salespeople make commission, and they end up making more money than he makes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're making double what Hank's making on the floor.
100%. So he reaches out to shake his hand, and they do that weird where they grab their arm.
Oh, the arm
thing.
The arm
shake.
Yeah.
And then that kind of fades into at the Hill House, and Hank is doing the same thing with Bobby. He's shaking the hand with him. He goes, "Honest to God, he did it just like this. It was crazy." Peggy, of course, coming up behind, knows everything. Men in the Renaissance period often shook wrist to wrist to check for daggers, and because they did not use toilet paper. How is that a thing? I don't understand.
I don't know about checking for daggers, but I would totally agree with the not using toilet paper thing. I could see that.
Still touching each other?
Yeah, but they didn't care about hygiene anyway.
Forearms okay to have crap on, but not
the
your
wrist
hand?
down was good. I feel like they didn't care that much.
Bobby's,
I mean, you got to think these are dudes who are like pissing and shitting in buckets and
that's true.
throwing it out their top windows into the street.
Has it really gone that far? Because if we go to the fair, you and I got to piss in a trough.
You know, that's the worst type of urinals, dude.
Oh, it's awful.
That's the worst type of urinals.
I've seen a drunk man fall in one.
I've seen people fall in too.
Yeah.
I would rather go all the way to the car.
No kidding.
And piss by my car and then come back to the.
I'd rather get on stage and pee in a bottle. Those troughs suck.
Yeah, those troughs ain't no good. And then if you're in flip flops, you're like pissing on your feet.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, you're like pissing on your feet. It's just terrible.
There is nothing clean about you when you leave a fair.
How about Twisters?
What do you mean?
The movie.
Oh, I don't know. What?
I don't know. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. I think I'm going to go watch it in IMAX.
That was just such a weird transition you just made.
Well, I looked outside.
You were
I know it's a weird transition, but I
We're
looked
pissing in troughs.
outside.
How about twisters?
And it's like, well, I was thinking about the water going
I
down
got
the
you.
drain.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
it's
there you
like dark outside, and I was
It
just
is.
thinking about
actually kinda nice.
the tornado in '53 and all. I was kind of like thinking about that, like flashed in my head. I was just imagining. I don't know. I had the ghosts of 1953 in this building. It was swaying for a minute. All the windows were busted out.
Bobby says, "We got to go. I haven't had a caramel apple in weeks. Weeks. Not in a year, not in months. Weeks.
When was the last time you had a caramel apple?
I don't think.
been a
Boy,
long
I had to
time.
be a kid
Yeah,
probably, or a teenager at the very least. I never really liked them that much.
I prefer like chopped up apples with caramel sauce dipping.
Sure.
Eating it off of a
It's
stick
just a
where
mess.
it's hard.
It's
Well,
a mess, and it's hard and
Yeah, that's what I don't like about it.
sticks
Is
in your
when,
teeth.
when you're eating them after they've been dipped and it's hardened on there,
Mm-hmm.
it's real hard to eat. But if you have like the warm caramel like in the microwave,
Yeah.
and then you like dip it in
Oh,
the
no,
apple
that's very
slices,
good.
I
Yeah,
think
that's very good.
I think that's a superior way of eating caramel apples.
This has nothing to do with this episode, but we're talking food. So I sent my wife a recipe I saw the other day for a Jell-O cake. I've never had any cakes made with Jell-O.
Oh wow!
And so it was this.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I understand. Like, I don't know. If you tell me Jell-O, I just expect it to jiggle. You know, like the regular
yeah,
Jell-O.
definitely, yeah.
So this is a cake that you make. Then you poke holes in it. You pour the strawberry Jell-O liquid over it, and then she made homemade whipped cream and put it all over the top. Sliced strawberries over the top.
Okay.
My wife is a friggin' saint, man, because that is the best damn thing I've had in a very, very long time.
That sounds
Man,
interesting.
That stuff was
Jell-O
good.
cake sounds kind of crazy.
You can't even tell there's Jell-O. It's more like the flavor. You know?
Yeah, I got you.
But it's excellent. Ooh, boy, was it good. Okay. Bobby hadn't had a caramel apple in weeks. Hank says, I've never seen anything like it. Everyone was dressed up and playing make-believe. That part was asinine, but they had a dragon that burns 1,000 gallons a week. But, boy, if I can close this deal, I can get us that second sink in the bathroom. No more bumping heads when we brush. Peggy said, oh, that would be paradise. But wait, we agreed I am saving up for the sink with my notary fees. There is that would take 1,000,000 years, Peggy. Hank says, well, that should cover the sales tax. And she goes, he goes, just don't leave your hair in it. That's the only payment I need. And that was, it's a little degrading to Peggy, honestly, the way that he talked to her. But I'm sure that she's used to it because of all the crappy things she says.
Oh, yeah, she's got to be used to it.
Now we're at the Ren Fair again. There's jousting taking place. A wizard walks by. We've got Bobby, Luann, Hank, and Peggy, and they're all standing there, and Hank says, okay, Luann, since you're older, I'm putting you in charge of the spending money. Spend it any way you want with these 3 rules. No tights, no tassels, or skirts on the boy. And then Bobby's like, oh, he gets a little excited, and he goes, oh,
no bells.
And no bells. And then he says, have fun. And so Hank and Peggy walk off, and we get Dale standing at they walk off, and they walk towards the front, and Dale is at the ticket booth arguing with the person. He goes, it says right here, $1 discount with period costume. Well, I'm from the future, and the future is a period. Ergo, this is a period costume, period. He's dressed like Star Trek.
Yes.
He's dressed like somebody from
He's
Star
dressed
Trek.
like someone from Star Trek. Completely inaccurate.
He's just trying to be an ass.
It would be funny, though, to, I guess, as long as he stayed in character the entire time he was at the Ren Fair,
Well,
like
he
the Ren
does.
Fair guys, which he does.
He does.
Which
yeah.
he does.
Yeah, because at the end. So the king walks up and says, good morrow, all.
Good morrow. Oh, yeah.
Hank says, hey there, sire. I'd like you to meet my lady, Lady Peggy. And the guy says, delighted, and kisses Peggy's hand, which, of course, Peggy,
Delighted. Yeah, no, I don't think he says it like that.
She says, well, nice to meet you, Phil. She refuses to call him King. She always calls him Phil.
Yeah, because it's
It's his name.
Peggy can't get demasculated.
No.
She has to be the most masculine person in the room.
She says, now, I'm not a Renaissance expert, but I did substitute teach Chapter 6 in the World on Parade. Now, let me tell you, you have kept your historical inaccuracies to a minimum. The king says, what inaccuracies dost thou mean? She says, I think you mean, dost thou mean? And your British accent is really, really close. Yeah.
How is Peggy going to tell Al? This is from Arthur's notes.
Alan
How is
Rickman.
Peggy going to tell Alan Rickman how
Yeah.
his voice sounds?
Yeah, I don't know that
I thought that
either.
is funny.
She would definitely do that.
Yeah,
Hank
she
has a little bit of an uncomfortable laugh, and he goes, well, now that you met my wife, maybe I should meet your propane needs. And the king says, we should not discuss matters of trade in the presence of the fairer sex. Let's away. And he flips his cape. Hank's like, oh, yeah, sure, Peggy. I'm going to away with King Motzinger. Why don't you away? And Peggy just has this mad look on her face.
Yeah.
Why don't you away?
Get away.
Just get away. All right, so now we have the king on the throne. He's being fed grapes by his wenches and fanned and all kinds of stuff. And Hank is explaining Strickland propane by the letter to him.
Yeah.
He's all the way to the E at the
he's
end,
got that corny-ass
at
pitch.
the end of propane. And he goes, and the E stands for economical. Some people think the E stands for even burning, but it doesn't. So do we have your business? I mean, like, he thinks that pitch is so good that people will just go, oh, shit, okay, great, I'll sign up.
Yeah,
You know, he's just,
he thinks he's getting somewhere with it, but I don't think that's going to happen here.
There's a teen that walks up. They're kind of just walking by, and one of the kids says, hey, dude, it's the king. He gets up. He slings his sword around.
I got you.
And he goes,
We wage war on France on the morrow. And then that kid goes, that is so gay.
That's so gay.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a quick tidbit about that is so gay line.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a short time between 2010 and 2011, which there was a big wave of anti-gay bullying and suicide stuff with the LGBT discrimination, and it was all in the news and everything.
Sure.
Around that time frame, Adult Swim edited the episode and removed this scene right here.
Really?
And
About the gay part.
And it was that way until February 2012.
Well,
so now when it airs, it is uncut.
I have to tell you,
that made me uncomfortable hearing the word uncut. So the episode now airs as produced.
Just as an aside,
unedited. There we go.
a lot of this stuff has not changed because I'm on a comic book based podcast, and we've been doing really, really well here lately.
I saw that. It's been doing really good.
And probably once a week we get somebody going, gay. Comics are gay, stuff like that, in their comments. It's just, I've never understood how that is supposed to make me feel like, oh, well, maybe I should reconsider what I'm doing.
Well, you know what it is?
This fucking moron told me it's gay.
It's probably a kid at home with a comic book in his hand saying,
100%.
Comic books are gay.
Well, the thing that confuses me, well, I mean, I understand it, but they hate it so much that they have to leave a comment. I mean,
oh, I love it. I love when they leave those comments. Yeah.
All right. So the king says, Prince Thatherton of
I'm fueled by hate. I'm fueled by hate. Hate me.
He's talking to Hank, and he goes, Prince Thatherton of Thatherton Fuels was here last eve, pledging on his honor to undersell you by 10%. Hank says, well, the difference between Strickland Propane and Thatherton Fuels, besides Thatherton's lack of focus, is service. I do demand proper service. He says, then Strickland Propane is the place for you. The king takes a drink, and he kind of spits it out, and he goes, this is mead. I said grog. And the wench says, I'm sorry. And he's just like so ugly to her. Away, a good wench is so hard to find.
Artie's got some good notes, so let's get another quick note in here. Mead versus grog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
mead is honey liquor, right?
Honey, water, yeast.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only three ingredients, I believe.
I don't know what grog is.
Grog is bog myrtle.
God bless you.
Juniper.
Wait, what? Bog myrtle?
The first grog was a mead, but with added ingredients. So you did have honey, water, yeast, but they also would put bog myrtle.
What the hell is that? What's bog myrtle? You keep going. I'm going to look up bog myrtle.
Yeah, bog myrtle, juniper, and grape wine, and then of course they would let it do its little process, and then they would drink that. So mead is more like a wine, like a sweet honey wine, and there's no grapes used in mead fermentation. Yeah, but in grog they use a little bit of honey, water, yeast, bog myrtle.
Bog myrtle looks like a plant. Let's see, we got a little bog myrtle plant here.
Some type of plant.
And it says very common on wet grounds in the highlands. Bog myrtle or Mercia gale has a distinctive sweet smell and supports many insects. But there is a question up here: is bog myrtle hallucinogenic? And it says it has a pleasant aroma, which is slightly toxic and hallucinogenic.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there you go. Get your bog myrtle while
Maybe
you can.
that's why they call it grog.
Could be because you're so groggy.
Groggy.
It's like your purple drink.
Well, that's like all this classic Greek that I said last time that I was listening to. and the guy was talking about how pretty much in ancient Greece, everybody from children to the oldest of adults was on some type of drugs because they had no concept at that point of there was no word for recreational drug use. There was no context in the writings or anything for it. Drugs were just a part of
absolutely
that culture so much that they didn't even have different names for things. And a lot of it was pharmacological, but a lot of pharmacological stuff had, varying effects of addiction and stuff like that. So there's actually signs too in the writing of increasing the doses. So they're like, we started off with this much of whatever, concoction they make, and then they have to eventually it becomes too weak, and they have to up their dose and up their dose. So they kind of have like early addiction and stuff like that. Kind of talk about it and stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Their bar keeps raising.
Too much bog myrtle. They're smoking bowls of bog myrtle to fry their brains.
He says a good winch is hard to find. You're fortunate. Yours seems sturdy. If I had her in my employ, it would solidify the bond between our two kingdoms. Hank says, Peggy's not an actual employee of Strictly Propane, but at Strickland Propane, our motto is, now get this is their motto. If you have a problem, tell us what it is, and we will try to take care of it as soon as we can. Boy, is that catchy.
You know what that is? Some
a
shit.
Catchy
That's
ass.
shit Hank made up. He was sitting on the shitter one morning, and he's like, "Oh, this is profound.
It's so many words.
This is so profound."
If you have a problem, tell us what it is, and we will try to take care of it as soon as we can. That's just somebody saying a sentence. All right, so now there's a booth where they hand make leather items.
Yeah.
And Peggy is having one made, and she stops the guy and goes, "Oh, wait, have you already started? Because I'm thinking going back to number one mom." And the guy looks up. Obviously, this is not the first time she's had him stop and start. Hank comes up and goes, "Hey, Peggy, guess who wants you to work in his kingdom? The king. How about that, huh? You could actually help me get that sink." She goes, "Oh, could I? But will I?" "No, sure. We'll be a great team, side by side, like our double sinks." I mean, that's a perfect opportunity for Peggy to be an ass.
Yeah.
But she just skipped right past it.
She did, but she doesn't skip by many of them.
So now we see the king looking at a map, and Hank walks up and goes, "King Philip, sir?" He goes, "How now, gas man?" He goes, "Pretty good, thanks." I mean, I don't know how you respond to that.
Thanks? Yeah, I don't either.
Goes,
That's not unconventional.
My wife Peggy is ready to serve the kingdom. And she's right there. She goes, "I am a Renaissance woman. This is a Renaissance fair. We are a perfect fit." And the king says, "Delightful."
Oh, Peggy.
I've got just this also. I've got just the hole for this peg.
Yeah.
Woof.
What the hell? Yeah, I did not catch that at all when I watched it.
Got just the hole for this peg.
That is disgusting, Peggy.
There's a
and
town.
she's got just the feet for your meat.
There's a town crier outside just screaming stuff. Hear ye, by order of King Philip for the crime of offering her own opinion is this impudent wench who has been sentenced to 1 hour in the stocks. And there's this blonde girl, and she has been put in the stocks. And the stock is that thing where you have your head and your two hands
where they
hanging out.
throw fruit at your face or whatever.
And then he says, "Hoist your fruit, good men," and he starts passing out tomatoes to these guys.
This is a stock reference here. This is so
supply chain.
Well, I was watching The Hunchback of Notre Dame over the week.
Sure you were. Yeah.
And in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, there's
the
a
animated
scene.
one or the old one?
No, the animated one.
Okay.
They're the one with
the guy with the big lump.
I don't even know I don't even know the actors' names that play their voices.
I don't remember.
I don't remember
that
any of the
one.
voice actors. I know Mel Gibson was in Pocahontas, but that's all I can remember off the top of my head.
Remember who was
But
in that.
yeah, so in a scene in that movie, there is so in the beginning of Aladdin, Jafar is like this old man, and he like coerces Aladdin to go get this lamp for him out of this weird cave of wonders. So that Jafar, as he is that same animated character right there as that old man, they have him again in Hunchback of Notre Dame, and there's a scene where he's in the stocks, and they're all like it's like a real chaotic scene where everybody's fighting and stuff like that, and they hit the dude's stock. It opens, and he's like, "Yeah!" and celebrates, and then he steps right into the sewer. So I don't know. I thought that was
the
funny.
big cast, not a huge cast here for Hunchback of Notre Dame. Demi Moore.
Oh wow!
Jason Alexander.
Who was Jason Alexander? He was the Hunchback.
He was Hugo. I guess that's the Hunchback, right? Yeah.
No.
Anyway, he's Hugo.
Hugo is one of the three.
Quasimodo is the big deal, right?
Yeah, Quasimodo.
Jim Cummings, which I've heard.
Quasimodo was played by Jim Cummings?
No. Hang on.
Jim Cummings is probably one of the Stone things.
Mary Kay Bergman played Quasimodo's mother, but I haven't gotten to Quasimodo yet. Tom Hulse. He was Quasimodo. And then, Kevin Kline's in it at some point. This is just not a big star cast that you would think, and I guess that maybe is why it wasn't such a big hit.
Yeah, it had. I think another reason why too was the amount of music. Kevin Kline played Captain Phoebus, which is the.
I think the other thing is it was about a hunchback.
Well, not only that, I don't know. It was real dark for a kids movie.
Dark. Yeah,
and there was like one real weird scene with the judge Claude Frollo, where he sings this song about how he's lusting for Esmeralda, and how if he can't have her, then she'll be damned to the gates of hell and she'll burn in an eternal fire. And the only way to save her soul is by allowing him to take her.
Wow.
And this is a kid's movie.
Yeah, that's rough.
And then at the end of the movie, the climax point, he burns her at the stake before Quasimodo swoops in to save her. So it was
I don't remember all that, but that sounds rough.
It is. It's that I watched it because my kid is on one movie and I'm trying to show him tons of movies to show him something else. Maybe one will catch him. That one was a no-go.
So these guys are throwing the tomatoes and stuff, and the king looks at Peggy because he thinks she's going to catch on, and she goes, okay, Phil, where do I start? And that's it. I mean, she doesn't even faze her.
No.
And that is the first commercial break. We'll take that. We'll refill our tomatoes, and we'll be right back.
Yeehaw.
Ned Hillsdale, a hard-drinking, foul-mouthed ex-cop turned private detective in the city of Chicago. He lives dangerously, loves intensely, and drinks harder than anyone. The very things that got him kicked off the force now make him the city's best detective. Set against the low rumble of sad jazz and the hum of underground crime, Ned Hillsdale, Private Detective, is available anywhere you get your podcasts and at roguemedianetwork.com.
All right, and we are back. We're still at the fairgrounds, F-A-I-R-E grounds.
The fairgrounds.
But there are trailers in the back, so it's like anything else. You know, the guy that plays Mickey Mouse has to take his head off and go take a break at some point. Mm-hmm. And so you see one of the fools or the jesters out there dancing, and then once he reaches that certain line where he can get into the trailers, he's just like, and just stops and goes over to have a cigarette or whatever. But Hank and Peggy are in the Human Resources trailer there at the Renaissance Fair. By the way, the Arlen Renaissance Fair that travels around has a Human Resources trailer.
Yes.
That's insane.
That is insane. The fact that, Renaissance Fair having a Human Resources department to me seems a little bit bureaucratic for Renaissance Fair.
That is a little weird, yeah. But there is a guy in a sweater vest there that works the HR. Hank says, King Philip sent us here about a job for my wife. I'm not saying it has to be a good job, but again, we were referred by the king. The guy says, all right, bear with me a second. This thing is so freaking slow, and he's typing stuff into the computer. Peggy says, I would make an excellent wandering minstrel. If I can play guitar on the Stairmaster, I can certainly do it while wandering. What the hell does that mean?
I'm not very sure. Yeah, I don't think she thinks at a very high level.
The guy looks at her and he goes, oh, no, see, you're a woman. Other than the yard-long margaritas, we're pretty strict about historical accuracy. Yard-long
margarita.
He goes, you're pretty much looking at cleaning winch, stable winch, or butter churning winch. And Peggy gets up. She turns his monitor around, and she goes, are you sure you don't have any openings for a queen? Warrior princess? He goes, no.
Warrior princess? What do you think you are, Xena?
He goes, no. I can go over the winches again. And Peggy says, is cleaning winch the highest ranking winch?
There is no highest ranking winch.
The guy looks at her and he goes, hi? Yeah. Like, yeah.
He was going to just say whatever to get the conversation rolling.
If this will shut you up, lady, then yeah, it's the highest winch. All right, so now we go into the cleaning tent, and Peggy is in her winch costume, which
She is.
a little sexy for Peggy. Just saying.
A little too much.
Yeah.
A little bustier.
And then all the women are in there cleaning and
Peggy's stacked up.
washing stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah.
She's got a flat ass, but
Well, she's stacked on top and on bottom, her feet. So
I think that's how she keeps balance.
can't push that woman over.
If she didn't, if she had small feet, she might tip over.
That's true.
Because she doesn't have an ass to keep the balance out. Yeah, someone's gonna cancel me for that.
God closes the door and
Yeah.
opens a window.
I love women.
so-
I don't hate women at all. I don't hate women.
We do
are
not
awesome.
hate women. No,
women
not
are
at all.
amazing.
It's more this episode than anything else. The HR guy brings her in. And he goes, when a tour comes in, you clean the rug by beating the dirt out of it. When the tour leaves, you dirty the rug by sprinkling dirt on it. And Peggy says, well, as back-to-back-to-back substitute teacher of the year, I may look far too intelligent to be cleaning winch. I just hope people buy it. Later we go, and a girl comes up and chunks some dirt onto her rug that she's been beating. And Peggy says, I'm sweating like a horse here. Is that a saying? Have you ever heard anybody say you're
Sweating
like a horse?
Sweat like a horse.
Do horses sweat?
No, I think it might be maybe a politically correct, toned down version of them sweating like a whore in church.
Maybe
Maybe
sweating like a horse here.
Maybe they toned it down.
The girl from the stockades comes in, and Peggy's like, well, what happened to you? She goes, I was punished for my sloth and impertinence. And she goes, why are you talking like that? She goes, and then she goes back into her accent. She goes,
Oh, yeah.
She goes, honey, you don't want the king to catch you breaking character. He once put me on stable duty for humming an Elvis song.
Stable duty for an Elvis song.
And then you hear outside the tour guide coming through, follow me, fair visitors. And then the lady that had the tomatoes thrown at her, she goes, to our tasks, everyone, villagers approach. The tour guide comes into the group. He goes, I hope you enjoyed the stable and the
You know what that
sky."
reminds me of?
Yeah.
I think it would be funny if at the museum over here on Baylor, the Mayborn, they have a it's called the Governor Bill Villa Village. I think it would be
The Villa
funny
Village.
if they had more, LARPers, people.
Yeah.
People in costumes and stuff out there like doing things.
I think our
But
daily life
I think it
needs
would be
more LARPers.
hilarious if you had like some woman just like with her hand on her hip smoking a cigarette next to some dude like sipping a beer out of a
Sure.
red Solo cup, and all of
Sure.
a sudden someone yells at the door, "They're coming!" and everybody snaps back to
They have to
churning
go.
butter and
That's
milking
basically-
cows.
that's basically what
Yeah,
happened
that's
here.
what happens right here. Yeah.
She says he put me in for the Elvis song. He goes, to our tasks, everyone, and then the tour guide. I hope you enjoyed the stable and sty. We now move on to some more comely beasts of burden, the winches.
The wedges.
And Peggy comes up. Good morrow, everyone. I am beating a rug. A very important job, for castles were oft drafty. And then the tour guide's like, wench, whom address thee? She goes, I address myself, since there's no such thing as a vacuum cleaner in the Middle Ages. Tour guide again. What speak you of vacuum cleaner? And the lady that was trying to warn Peggy, she's like, Peggy, hold thine tongue. And Peggy goes, right. In the future, and she's really talking down to people, in the future, they will invent a magical sucking device to free women from household drudgery. And then when she says that, every wench behind her is just like,
Which
'cause she
this
knows
right
they've gone
here-
too far.
This line of dialogue here alludes to what we talked about earlier about them being points of for educational uses or whatever, and instead of using it for education, this place uses it for the sole purpose of this is what it would be like if you lived during these times, which I'm sure it would be cool. I think if they had a place that was like this, where maybe not all the misogyny stuff,
But you actually learn
but
stuff.
you sign a waiver to experience as much as you can without death, of course, what it would be like to live in this type of situation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like if you get caught like pinching a loaf of bread or something like that, they put you in an actual stockade and
sure.
you get hit with the real
Yeah.
fruit and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
feel
let's-
like a role play of this would be
That's where I want to go.
would be interesting.
get hit by real
It's
fruit.
like those people that pay all
I
that money to
know,
go to that
those
horror
horror
camp.
places. Yeah, I get
that
it.
one
That's
dude
exactly
or
what I
whatever where
thought, yeah.
they don't charge at all. You have to sign all these waivers and bring a bag of dog food, and they
Because
let
the
you go
guy
through it.
is he's a
Sadist. He's
he's
a
very much a
horrible
sadist. Yeah, he's a
human being.
terrible man.
Those people are insane.
Yeah.
Anybody that pays for that too is probably just as equally as insane.
Yeah, but in the other direction. You know what I mean? Like he wants to do it, they want to take it. You know, it's like a dom sub kind of thing.
I don't know what that means, but it's definitely not good.
All the wenches gasp, and then the tour guide says, "If thou can foretell the future, perhaps thou art a witch." And all the lady speaks up, and she goes, "She is no witch, my lord, merely touched in the head from the sun." And then you hear, "She is a witch," and the crowd just starts saying, "Witch, witch, witch." King and Hank walk up, and he goes, "How now? Is there unrest in my kingdom?" Because everybody's shouting witch.
Yeah.
The witch, there's one of the wenches that just gives it up, and she goes, "She's a witch," and points at Peggy. And then Hank says, "Well, I guess if they burn you at the stake, they'll be using my propane. You'll find it burns witches cleanly and evenly at a fraction of the cost of natural gas."
Yeah.
Peggy says, "You know, this cleaning winch thing isn't really doing it for me." And she hands the king the rug beater that she had been beating the rugs with. And boy, does he not like that.
Yeah.
He says,
I got you.
Yeah.
If her arms worked as hard as a serpent's tongue, there would be nary a speck of dust in the kingdom.
Yeah.
I told you I'm good with that. I'm a voice guy, dude. I love
it.
voices.
He laughs, and Peggy.
That's how I read books in my head.
Yeah.
When I'm reading books, there's like all these voices and stuff that I hear.
So they all walk off.
Over the voices that I generally hear.
I got you.
hear the voices.
Yeah. Kill.
Tony.
The one says they're in the break tent now, right? All the characters are like taking breaks. There's a wizard who's pulled his beard down and he's trying to eat. Peggy's
breaking character with the beard there,
right.
buddy.
Peggy's sitting with a group of wenches. The one girl, she opens her girdle, or what do you call it, bodice? And she goes, "Oh," because like
I don't call it.
Everything can come out, and she goes, "This is not what nature intended for my implants."
Yeah,
that's a funny line.
That is funny.
Becky,
and there's this guy. He's a comedian on Twitter, is where I found him, and I would call him an amateur comedian. He's got a small following on the internet. And he's got a podcast that does okay, but his name is Dalton Pruitt. And he does these, man, it's called TikTok rack reactions. And he'll go to like these Instagram models and stuff that post on Instagram, half nude pictures of themselves and stuff. And he'll rate their rack. And he calls implants
that's rough
formulas. It is really rough, but it's an advertisement thing for the girls. The girls go to him. By the way,
I do not approve.
Yeah, I don't really approve
Just
it either.
letting you know.
I don't really approve it either, but he calls implants formulas. Formula, like instead of milk, it would be formula.
Oh, I got you. Okay. One of the wenches says, "That fat Merlin finished all the chicken wings. Why do wenches always get the last lunch break?" And the woman who just undid her bodice says, "Because Philip is an ass."
Philip is an ass.
And the other one says, "Speaking of which, he grabbed mine again this morning." Peggy's taken aback by all this. She goes, "But he's your boss. This is sexual harassment." First lady says, "Well, King Philip says that's just all tomfoolery." And then the other girl, she goes, "It's okay to humiliate me when I'm Becky the butter churner, but not when I'm Becky the person. Oh, by the way, my name's Becky." That's wonderful. Peggy says, "Peggy Hill, rug wench.
Rug wench.
Maybe he just doesn't have good people skills. Sometimes I don't." Which, it's amazing that she's self-aware for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Because she never is.
Never.
But now,
she's the most least self-aware person.
Now you're like, oh, maybe she does know she's an asshole. That she might possibly know what she's doing here.
I don't know. Maybe.
So the other lady says, "You see Brandon over there?" And they show the guy get up. He's got six-pack, and he puts up back his hood and his axe because he's the guy that cuts people's heads off or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, "He started a year ago. Makes twice as much as me." Peggy says, "You know what? As the highest-ranking wench, which she's not, maybe I should talk to the king. It's time we rewrote history." So now we're in the king's tent. The tent is just for him, and he's sitting there counting money with a scale, like putting coins on a scale and weighing it down. Yeah. She steps in behind him. He does not turn around. She goes, "Hey, Philip, you got a second, Mr. Motzinger, King Philip?" And he won't respond.
Yeah.
She finally says, "King Philip," and he turns around. And
he
he goes,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, go.
"Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah. "I was just counting my treasure from the Americas." Yeah.
Next one.
"What is the reason for this interruption?" "One of the girls..."
No, that's Peggy.
Oh, okay.
Peggy says...
Oh, yeah, that is Peggy, my bad.
Peggy
"What is the reason for this interruption?" "You wench."
Peggy says, "One of the girls got out her laptop and went on some labor websites." And he goes, "Laptop?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, come on, this is serious." Like, everybody just wants you to drop this shit, just so we can have a conversation here.
Please have a conversation.
But she says, you have women working more than 40 hours a week with no overtime. There's no sanitary napkin dispenser in the ladies' porta-john. And you are familiar with the Family Medical Leave Act of 1993?
Wow. Peggy hit him with FMLA.
He says, how could I be? It is but $15.90.
Yep.
She says, why don't you drop the act and explain to me why the wenches make 70 cents on the dollar and the village idiot gets full dental? He says, you are but a woman. I have given you enough of my time. Be gone. And she storms out of the tent. I mean, with good reason. Now we see Hank. He's kind of in the middle of the fair, and he has a run in his tights. He has a hole that is developed in his tights.
Bobby...
I just like the fact that he's wearing tights.
Yeah, I do too. Work stocking. These are my work stockings. They're not tights. Bobby goes, when he rips them, he goes, this is my third pair of these god dang tights today. And then Bobby said, at least you get to wear tights. And then he called them work stockings.
He's so jealous.
Yeah, he is, because it's kind of contradictory of Hank to act that way, because Hank would never let Bobby...
It's all about a sale.
Or he would let him, because he does wear tights throughout the show in different
Well, he gets to wear some here in a second. And Hank
when he does that little tiptoe dance. Yeah.
Hank says, these are my work stockings. How do you ladies put up with this? Peggy's there. She goes, well, we put up with a lot more than that, Hank. Just now, when I was complaining to King Philip, and he's like, whoa, complaining. No, the customer complains, not the gas merchant's wench.
You're going to skunk
the deal. She says, but he goes, look, if the king gives you a hard time, come see me. I'll handle it. Whatever you do, don't open your mouth. Damn, Hank. Yeah. She goes, I can fight my own battles. He looks at her and goes, mouth. And then she just reaches up there and rips his tights some more and walks off. That was kind of shitty, Hank. Now we're in the wench's tent, and Peggy is talking. She goes, if King Philip isn't ready for the Age of Reason, we will dust off a Dark Ages classic, The Peasant Revolt. Everyone grab a tomato.
Oh, The Peasant Revolt.
She's ready.
The Peasant Revolt.
And the first
tale as old as time.
That's it. You've been watching too many Disney movies.
Well, no.
Tale as old
Well, not only
as
that,
time.
I've been listening to a lot of
Hamilton soundtracks.
Well, a lot of stuff that's about the American Revolution, and it's like stripped down history without American exceptionalism, kind of tainted a little bit, because we're taught, America won the Revolutionary War and all that, but without like the French and the Spanish, we wouldn't have won, kind of thing at all. So I don't know. It kind of reminded me of a revolt.
So she's ready to lead this peasant revolt. She tells all the girls to grab a tomato,
which are good. I love tomatoes.
Especially to throw.
Could you eat tomatoes like apples? Do you like tomatoes that
I like
much?
Tomatoes
like
are
that much?
Yeah, but they have to be firm.
I like them at the garden.
I don't
fresh.
want them hard, but I don't want them soggy either. Squishy.
I like them when you first get them out of the garden, when they're like the cherry tomatoes when they're real firm.
Oh yeah, those are
different.
different.
I like to pick them when they're kind of warm from the sun, and then you bite them, and they're all. There just seems like there's so much more flavor in it than after you put it in the fridge.
Well, especially those that you buy at the grocery store. Those are awful.
Yeah.
So she says, everybody grab a tomato. The first lady says, are you crazy? You'll get us all fired. Peggy says, he can't fire all of us. Who will do the laundry, huh? The blacksmith? He's filthy. This fair will grind to a halt, and Philip will be forced to meet our demands. Now,
This is some.
It's some.
Wife tactics.
Who's the?
This is like home. She's using some.
Who was the one that stood on the desk yelling? Sally Field.
Norma
Ray.
Yeah.
That's some Norma Ray stuff.
You know what this reminds me of though? This is she's using this. This is like a domestic terror tactic. Like at home, by domestic I mean like at home to terrorize your home.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It is.
I'm not doing anything. It's a revolt.
So the first lady says, look,
I must be appreciated.
She goes, look, I can't take any chances. I have a daughter, and she needs a prom dress, and it has to be from one of the magazines, or the other girls will make fun of her. Peggy says, aren't you willing to risk the demeaning job today to give your daughter a brighter tomorrow, or whenever her prom is? We hear the trumpets come, and then the town
all
crier.
rise for the royal procession.
That is the town
I watched
crier.
a lot of Monty Python.
I get it,
yeah, a lot of Monty Python.
Now, Peggy shows up. She's still got a basket of tomatoes. She goes, I hand you tomatoes of freedom. And the first girl.
Someone else that likes firm tomatoes.
The first girl says, give me a firm one.
And what if she just ate it? What if she just handed her tomatoes? She's like, I need a firm one so I can eat it. Yeah.
She just takes a big bite of it.
And then walks away.
Now, they're all kind of crouched down.
Free tomatoes.
they're all kind of crouched down with these tomatoes in their hand. They're ready to just chunk them at the king.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is
absolutely.
a peasant revolt. And so you can see the king come through, and Peggy's holding one so hard it starts to kind of drip and squeeze. She's squeezing juice out of it. She wants to throw it so hard. And then the king comes by, and Peggy goes, "It's now or never." And she throws a tomato at the king. She goes, "Now, come on, throw. And then all the girls just go back to work.
Yeah.
So they let Peggy down, and the king says, "The one wench rebellion of 1590 has been quashed." And then all these swords are pointed at Peggy. Hank is there. He comes up. He's like, "Peggy?" And Peggy says, "Well, I'm sorry, Hank. I guess everyone here likes things the way they are. I'll go back to beating the rug now." She thinks she can just get out of this.
Yeah,
thing,
she thinks
right?
it's over.
The king says, "I wonder, madam, if I can expect the same impertinence from your husband's propanery that I have come to expect from you." Peggy says, "Please, Hank had nothing to do with this." He goes, "God, seize this wench and take her to the stocks." And the guards actually grab her by the arms, which Hank does not like. What
Not a fan. Not a fan of anybody putting his hands.
"What are you doing? Take your hands off of her." And then Peggy gets into it. No, it's okay, Hank. I'm not here. I'm in our bathroom over our own sink. I'm flossing, Hank. I'm flossing.
You know what I wished for this episode right here?
She got hit with a tomato.
Well, not that she got hit with a tomato. I wish that Hank would have gotten physical.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "If you want it to be 1590, then I'm going to whoop your ass." You know, something like that. Like he'd give him a right hook.
Hank gets very angry. And he goes, "Okay, that's it. Show's over.
I'm the king of this castle, bitch." And
then
punch him.
Peggy is now in the stocks. And she's like, "Hank, stop. You'll lose the account." And then you hear from the other person that, "Listen to your shrew. In her nagging there is wisdom." Hank says, "Dang it, there are more important things than a sale. You take off that crown. I'm kicking your ass." He says, "Oh, you demand satisfaction. Fine, then we shall joust by day's end." Hank says, "Say, huh?" Which I thought was really weird for Hank to say, "Huh?"
I got you.
Yeah.
If you're able to tilt me off my steed, then I will apologize to you and yon hag, and purchase your gas. But if should send thou tumbling to the dirt, then you and your gas will be banished from the kingdom. But not before your wife cleans the mud sweat from my blouse."
He calls her a whiff,
A
which
whiff.
is really weird.
Oh, yeah, you're whiff.
Yeah, he calls her a whiff.
It might be
I
old
thought
English for wife or
I guess
something.
it is, because I thought it was a typo.
Kills my voice.
But then
kills
I
my
heard him
throat
say it.
box.
And he says, so he takes off his shirt and drops it because he wants her to clean his man sweat. And then Hank says, "Fine, you're in for the joust of your life, mister." Yeah, the joust of your life. And then the
Joust of
crowd
your life,
cheers,
man.
the dragon spits fire, and we fade to a commercial. That is our second break. We'll take that. We'll refuel our dragon, and we'll be right back.
And we will return in just a moment.
Snack Attack is a podcast about the history of your favorite snacks, candies, and treats. Each 5-minute or less episode features the history of a great snack from around the world. We'll also visit what the status of the snack is today and give you a little knowledge to lord over your friend. Snack Attack is available anywhere you get your podcast or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's get snacking.
Step into the unexpected with Cultastic, or How to Start a Cult Without Really Trying. A podcast where cult creation unfolds in the most unpredictable way. Join us on a unique journey into the world of theoretical cult formation. Unlike any other podcast, each episode of Cultastic is co-written in part using ChatGPT, and we let it decide our fate, good or bad. What makes Cultastic truly intriguing? We don't know what's coming each week. Together with our AI co-author, we'll discover and build this cult, one episode at a time, exploring various aspects of cult dynamics, leadership, and group psychology. Delve into themes of charisma, influence, and the power of group thinking. It's a blend of expert analysis, theoretical exploration, and the unforeseen twists of AI-generated ideas. Remember, Cultastic is an exercise in imagination and education where we weave a narrative one episode and one tenant at a time. Curious about where this journey will take us? Subscribe to Cultastic or How to Start a Cult without really trying on your favorite podcast platform or at roguemedianetwork.com. Let's build this mission to save the people of Earth, week by unpredictable week.
All right, we're back. Dragon is full. We have all 4 of the guys standing in a tent, kind of like they were standing against the fence.
Yep.
But they have the big, giant metal mead cups or whatever, and they're drinking beer out of those.
Yep.
And you hear, yep, yep, yep.
Yup.
And then
Yoop.
Dale says, bleep. Like
Yeah,
he's from the
he's from the
future
future.
still. Bleep. He says, yeah,
I think he has one of those look like a television remote or whatever it was.
The little thing that say,
No,
you
not the
say beam me up
communicator.
in.
No, not the communicator. Their phaser thing. Wasn't it like a TV remote or something? It was like some weird shaped thing that they use for phasers.
I don't remember.
Set your phaser to stun.
He says, bleep. Then he says, yeah, you're going to get killed, Hank. I'd offer to help, but Prime Directive forebodes me from altering the course of history. If I do, you will win, but the universe will lose, and who wants that? Besides you. Hank says, no chump in a velvet costume is ever kicking my ass.
I love that. I love that. No jump in a velvet costume. That's such a great
What
line.
I love is that Buck has been here the whole time, and we've
Yeah.
not seen Buck. Buck comes up and goes, Hank, I don't need to tell you how important this joust is, do I? And Hank says, of course not. My wife's honor's at stake. And he goes, okay, yes, I do. Hank, I already made my in-your-face call to Thatherton. Don't muck this up. So now we are we're over on what they call the Field of Honor.
The Field of Honor.
This is the joust setup, right? And Peggy is talking to Bill in the stands, and she says, if Hank hadn't been there to defend me, I might still be in the stocks. And towards the end there, they were throwing potatoes, which I had to tell them was more historically accurate. Yeah. And then she just kind of looks at herself and goes, oh, my mouth. You know, like she
knows. Like I said, she knows. She's self-aware.
But she's
sometimes.
so proud of herself for doing it. All 3 are in the stands. Bill says, what do you think's going to happen after the joust, you know, when Hank is killed with Peggy? Dale, who knows everything, in the Middle Ages, there was an orderly process for the dispensation of the wife, unlike in today's genocracy. Ownership goes from the son to the dog to the best friend. Bobby's too young. Ladybird's too old. I already own a wife. Boomhauer doesn't have the time. So, Bill, this could be your end.
Whoa. So the word genocracy actually means a form of government ran where women hold the highest powers of position and authority.
Yeah.
So that's what that word means. I had to look that one up. That's not a word I'd ever heard ever been used before.
Bill says, don't worry, Peggy. I'll take care of you. Like, this is his big deal, right?
Yeah.
And Peggy's like, that is as unnecessary as it is repulsive.
Actually, at that time frame, the reason why she said potatoes, Artie has a fact here, but I knew this as well. But back then, tomatoes are part of the nightshade family. Nightshade family is a bunch of poisonous plants and stuff like that. So you don't eat the green part of tomatoes. You don't eat the plant part. You eat the fruit of the plant. You don't eat you can't eat the stalk and the leaves. Like some plants, you could eat the whole plant.
Yeah, sure.
But with tomatoes, all you generally get is the tomato. And at that time, most people had never even seen a potato in 1590 because potatoes are a New World item.
Yeah, because they were brought over, right?
They didn't get to the Old World until the Spanish conquered South America.
So they were from North America, South America.
No, so in 1590 they wouldn't have had tomatoes or potatoes. They would have flung like rotten food, well, whatever their food was that they were eating, their rotten food, or mud or dead animals or animal crap.
Dead animals.
Or they would get like bags of horse crap and cow shit.
Let me tell you this. We went to a concert the other night. Concert's a very loose word for this. It was a band playing in a crab restaurant. But
Sounds awesome.
we drove about an hour and a half to get there.
Was it like all you could eat?
No.
Oh, well.
We do think maybe there was some sort of trafficking going on there because none of the waitresses could speak English,
okay.
and it wasn't like from Mexico, which is a lot of what we get here.
Yeah.
This was Venezuela, Cuba, different places like that.
Oh, like
and
a
I'm
smorgasbord.
Like, oh goodness. But anyway, we're coming back, and we always stop at one of the truck stops on the way back to get something to drink or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And there is one truck stop, by the way. I think it's in
Wahlberg.
I think it's in Wahlberg.
It is. That's the
well,
one,
there's
maybe.
two of them though, right? So there's one before the next one, and that one, the last time we stopped there, what they do is at the end of the night, they close down all the fryers and all the restaurants and stuff inside there, and they just put food in a brown paper bag, and they sell it for $3.99 a pop. And what you get is what you get. So it may be corn dogs.
Bag of food?
May be,
That's crazy.
It was nuts.
I've never seen that. Yeah, that's awesome.
But we missed that one, and we went to the next one. And we walk in, and number one, it's one of those truck stops with like a Denny's in it. You know, You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And we go to the bathrooms and come back out. There is a whole turnstile. This thing's got to be 7 foot tall, just full of raccoon hats, raccoon tail hats.
That has to be Wahlberg right there, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how many raccoon tail hats are you selling these days?
I don't know. I hear Daniel Boone's making a comeback.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, do you ever see? I never see anybody with a raccoon hat on.
I never have ever in the entirety of my life, other than maybe a movie, seen
Six Flags,
somebody
maybe.
with a raccoon hat on.
Maybe in old days I would go to Six
I've seen
Flags and
raccoon
somebody with
dicks
one
on
of those.
people's hats. Have you ever seen that?
No,
where they
I've not
take the
seen that.
bone?
No,
well,
thank
it's
you.
like
Nope.
it's like the guys do with fishing lures or fishing hooks.
Nope, not going to
But
do that.
it's a raccoon's bone
Nope.
because their penis is a bone, and they put it on their
Raccoon bone penis.
their hats.
Okay.
If anybody knows
so,
that, go ahead and give us an email of
Jesus
where you got it at, and maybe we'll do some King of the Bois themed raccoon dick hats.
There was another thing which was weird, and I went up and asked the cashier about both these things. Number one, I asked her about the raccoon hats. She goes, "Yeah, we don't sell as many as we used to." I was like, when did the need stop? Or whatever.
It was the raccoon hat drought of 2022.
January 2022 was crazy.
Yeah, we were selling the hell out of them, and then all of a sudden there was just
Then right up at the cash register, there's one of those little cages on the floor. Like you would go into Walmart and they have like the loose rubber balls in it or whatever.
Yeah,
just keeps them all together. This had some pillows in it, but they were these little odd-shaped pillows, right?
Yeah.
One was like one of those conch cookies, the Mexican, pink on the outside, but it had one eye, and it was like looking at you. Okay, so that was one of the pillows, shaped like a conch, but with one eye and arms and legs.
Yeah.
Then there was one where it was some dude on a rocket, which I get that, whatever.
Okay.
And then there was a third one, and this one creeped me out.
Doctor Strange.
No, it was a chef, right? But nobody I ever recognized holding a green apple and looking at you like, you want to hook this apple, don't you? I mean, it was like, it was that it was that kind of look. And so I went up to the lady and I was like,
Smith action.
I was like, what are these? She goes, oh, that's not even the only one we have full of those. I was like, well, what are they?
The demand is high.
She goes, I don't know. I don't even know what they are. I said, well, how much are they? She goes, $25.
That's why they have a whole container.
$25 of those pillows.
Yeah. That's why they got a whole container of them. That is weird.
There's got to be a way to pop that thing open and put your drugs in it or something. I don't know. It's got to have a different use.
It probably has drugs in it. It's probably like a misdirected like cartel package. It's just like in the middle of this store with these
were creepy
raccoon hats filled with cocaine.
And there was no explanation and there was no anything. Even the cashier didn't know. One of them had a lot of stains on it. But anyway.
Pee stains. They're pissing on them. Piss gang.
He says, I'll take care of you. And she goes, that is as unnecessary as it is repulsive. Peggy Hill can take care of herself. And then Dale, oh, boy, you're going to have your hands full with this one, Bill. Next item, Hank's lawnmower.
God dang.
And then Boomhauer's like, yo, man, I got to do it. So Boomhauer gets the mower when he dies. And then Peggy looks at him and just goes, you're all a bunch of idiots. She says morons. But all right, so now we're going to have a joust. We see Hank. He's putting his helmet on. He gets on the horse. He's a little unstable. The king comes out. He's dressed for the joust. He uses a woman as a stool to get on the horse, which is insane.
Very insane to think, yeah.
Hank's on top of the horse, and he goes, I think you should know I've never jousted before or ridden a horse.
Yeah, I have a joust thing here. So apparently jousting actually originated in the Roman era. And the Romans were obviously, huge colonialists and conquered a lot of land. So they spread that stuff. And it had its modern origins in the military tactics of heavy cavalry. So it became it's kind of like with everything. You got to think of anything to do with most sports, maybe not like football or stuff like that, but like motorsports, like stock car racing came out of prohibitioners running whiskey, that kind of thing. So like the military thing translated into now
That's
a
why it's
sport.
so big in the South.
It's like rodeo. Rodeo is like ranching, and then ranchers got bored and jumped on the back of bulls. It's that kind of thing where people had like, oh, we're in times of peace, but we have all this war stuff. What do we do with it? Oh, well, let's joust. So it was that kind of thing. It was like a display of
basketball,
like your abilities.
Basketball is the same kind of thing. Naismith put up those peach baskets for them to play in, but I don't remember why. I think it was part of the YMCA or something like that. Okay, so he says, I haven't ever ridden a horse, which I thought was a real, that's a telling thing about Hank, because if you're up north, everybody thinks we're riding freaking horses all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, it don't happen. Very few people are still riding horses.
So
just think of where you live at. Think of how many people you know that ride horses. That's about how many people I know that ride horses.
Here. Yeah. So Hank's never ridden a horse. The horse guy says,
but I will say that the people I do that know how to ride horses are like. When they were, it's my friend's stepmom. She was like a competition rider when she was in high school and stuff like that. She's got like a ton of like trophies with horses on all over her house.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever it was, barrel roping, whatever she was doing. But she had like a lot of horse stuff. Like she broke in horses, did a lot of horsery, horsing around.
It's kind of like sorcery, but with a horse.
And then doing farrier duties. A farrier is like a horse
shoeing.
A horse, well, I like to call it like a nail salon for horses. A farrier. A farrier.
Farrier.
Yeah.
So the horse guy looks at Hank and he goes, oh, he'll do most of the work. Now, if he bucks you, make sure to cover your neck and your testicles.
And your testicles.
The trumpets play. The horse kind of bucks. Hank gets, he's very uneasy on it. The town crier says, the joust is commencing, the joust is commencing. And then you hear from Bill, go, Hank. And then it goes over to Luann and Bobby. And Bobby stands up, and he's dressed like a freaking, minstrel or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got this little mask, and he puts the mask up and goes, oh, go, Dad. And then Luann, her only line in the entire show, she goes, Bobby. And he goes, oh, and he sits down and puts the mask back on.
Yeah.
There's a woman that comes out. She drops a flag, and that says, go for the joust, because you've got two guys on either end. And then you hear, then they do the joust. He knocks Hank off, of course, because, Hank doesn't have any experience doing this crap. He gets knocked off, and it goes to Bill, and Bill's pretty happy, honestly, because he thinks he's about to get Peggy.
Yeah, Bill is like, ooh, yeah, Peggy.
And so the king's on his horse. He rides over, looks down at Hank, and goes, tell me, peasant, how does it feel to have lost your joust, your wench's honor, and the propane account in one mighty thrust of my lance? It's a bitter taste, I'm sure.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
Why would he say that?
And he says, and ye shall savor it for 70 fortnights anon. And then we see something happen. A dark knight comes riding out on a horse, charges and holds up the arm, and it's that damn rug beater, right?
Yeah.
And then this dark knight, charges at the king, knocks his ass right off the horse. He's on the ground next to Hank. And then you see that it is Peggy. She lifts her mask and she goes, hey, King Make-Believe, you just got beat by a girl, which was pretty funny.
Which is awesome. I forgot to talk about it a few weeks ago, but since we're on like horses and stuff like that, rodeo, bulls, rodeo kind of thing makes me think of that. One of the greatest PBR bulls ever, because in bull riding, they separate scores. The bull gets a score.
Sure.
and the rider gets a score.
Yeah.
And they combine them, and that's how you get a good
That's what
a
bulls
good
live
ride.
for, is their score.
And they do. Well,
Bulls love scores.
they're actually, people are like, the reason why the rodeo still exists without a lot of pushback.
Prisons.
Well, not only that, but I'm talking about like ASPCA,
Yeah, I
like
got
animal
you.
stuff.
I got you, sure.
The reason why they don't get a lot of pushback is because those bulls are generally better taken care of than the riders.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
bulls are owned mostly
was
by cattle ranchers that
only
are
a
multi-millionaires.
Only a few years ago did the guys riding the bulls start putting helmets on.
Yeah, well, and some of them still don't ride with helmets.
I know it.
Very
I know it.
few. It's mainly the old guard.
It's
And by
not
old guard, I mean guys that are like my age that are retiring out of it.
It's not mandatory.
it's
at
not
all,
mandatory.
which is weird. I mean, especially in the time of PED. You know, like the helmets.
I just wanted to say rest in peace to Bushwhacker, the best, like the greatest PBR bull ever. The best ride ever on that bull. Look it up.
Bushwhacker. You're in our
JB
hearts.
Mooney riding Bushwhacker is what they say is that's like the best qualified ride by the best bull rider and the best bull ever.
Just happened to be the best combination.
Best combination ever. And that ride, I mean, it's only 8 seconds, but just thinking
8 seconds is a long
about
damn
the
time on the back of
sheer
one of those things.
size of the bull compared to the guy, because the guy
they're
weighed
gigantic.
like 145, 150 pounds soaking wet, and he's sitting on the back of this bull that weighs almost 2,000 pounds. And the thing about that bull is that it was a very athletic bull. When it jumped, it does all these kind of twists. It was an insane bull.
Those bulls they use in that, they are all muscle. I mean, it's
Well,
not
they're
a cow.
bred for
This is
jumping
not a cow,
too. They get bulls that specifically like to jump. So
Yeah.
the ones that don't like to jump as babies, they end up back on the farm somewhere as slaughterhouses. But the bulls they breed them for jumping. So the best bull out of they'll go out and they'll mate these
If
bulls.
they only knew,
and the
they
best
would all
one.
jump.
Yeah, if they only knew. Like, you're gonna die if you don't jump,
You
boy.
gotta jump.
Yeah, you're gonna die if you can't jump.
So we find out that Peggy is the one that knocked him off. She says you got beat by a girl. Everybody in the stands is very happy. Bobby, you hear him go, "Yeah, Mom, all right, all right."
All right.
And then the king is still on the ground. The wenches gather around him, and he says, "Help me to my feet, you gaggle of magpies." And then the lady that had to undo her fake breast says she gives him a scroll, but it's really just a rolled up piece of paper. And he goes, "What hand you me?"
The formulas.
And she goes, "It's a lawsuit, honey." He looks at it and he goes, and his accent completely drops. And he goes, "Department of Labor, OSHA, Texas Workforce Commission. Crap, I'm going to lose my fare. I don't want to go back to selling real estate." And then Peggy lifts Hank onto her horse with her. He goes, "We did it, Peggy." She goes, "Well, I wish I'd been born 500 years ago. I could have single-handedly saved womankind forever."
And then Hank, "I helped too,
Hank, and it's such a weird thing for Hank to say. He goes, "I helped too, you know." She goes, "Yes, Hank. Everybody helped. Just try not to fall off the horse this time." And the thing I didn't think about was,
she grew up on a horse farm in Montana.
yeah, she grew up in Montana. So I mean, she's very
Didn't she grow
comfortable
up
on those horses.
Wasn't it specifically a horse? I'm not
I
gonna
believe
say
so,
that, but I
yeah.
think it was a horse farm.
I think it was.
Because I remember the episode. That's late. I think it's a later episode where she actually is in Montana, and
Yeah.
we see her in
Yeah,
Montana.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a horse farm.
I'm pretty sure it's a horse farm. Yeah.
They grow them right out of the ground. And then the last thing we see in this, they see them riding off, and Bill comes into the frame. Dale comes into the frame.
Yep.
And Dale says, "The prime directive has been breached. Women's liberation has happened too soon. I must warn the future." And then he goes, like he's trying to get beamed up.
Yeah, he's funny.
And then Bill's right next to him and goes,
A
"Take me with."
character.
He says, "Take me with you. I hate it here." And then that's it. We get the credits. Now, after the credits, we do get the king saying, "How now, gas man?"
Oh no, Gasman.
And that is it, man. That is season 6, episode 8.
And that is the end of
like
the episode.
a woman. Yeah, if we never have to do that voice again, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that one's not a very good one though.
No, it's good. It's just at
very
first,
annoying.
it was very surprising.
It's sharp.
Took me, yeah. Oh, it's sharp.
It's sharp.
It's sharp. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like your finest orange cheese.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about playing role-playing games and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I have a friend that I played. There's a game called Baldur's Gate. There's 1, 2, and 3. I had a friend that recently, well, not recently, but last year or so, we went through 1 and 2, and I was reading all the dialogue and everything throughout the game, and I was coming up with a different voice for each character, and then I had a voice for my main character that I was playing at the time and everything like that.
Yeah,
so
you said you play a lot of it, but you're not like a dungeon master or anything.
Nah,
you just like to play.
I can tell.
You don't want to be in charge of the game.
I could do that.
Yeah.
But it would, to me, that wouldn't be as fun. Some people like all that micromanaging stuff because there's a lot of micromanaging being a dungeon manager.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't. I'm not a micromanager. I like to be able to affect the story, but not be the story.
I know we
director.
talk about a lot of things that we would like for people to do out there.
Yeah.
One of the things is at the end of this year, we should be setting up some more studios up here.
Yeah.
And take over a little more room. One of those that we're setting up, I want it to just be a nerd studio.
Yeah,
right?
where we do Dungeons and Dragons.
But I want Dungeons and Dragons. So what I'm thinking is there anybody out there that could write us a King of the Hill themed Dungeons and Dragons? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
that
I
would
see
be
what
pretty
you're
damn
saying.
good.
I'm gonna look on the internet whenever I'm done
it's
today.
It's gotta already be made.
And I'm gonna see if somebody, because when we were in school, I had this friend who was like savant with the rule sets of a bunch of different tabletop games, and he knew them so to the minutia or whatever, and he was like a walk encyclopedia. So what he would do is he would take some of these, because some of these games give you a template to make your own games.
Yep.
So he used what was called GURPS at the time.
Yeah, I remember GURPS.
And he took GURPS and he created his own story.
GURPS
his
is just
own that.
It's like a skeletal system to build the game around. Right, it's got all the different stuff that you need to build the game.
Also, on a completely unrelated note, President Biden dropped out of the race for the White House 36 minutes ago.
Oh, goodness!
Somebody sent that to me and it notified me, and there was
Yikes.
like they had pinged me like 40 times, so I just had to click on that. Sorry about that.
This is truly the end of times. Is what it is.
I don't know, man. It's getting crazy.
So,
it's getting crazy out here. I don't even know who to vote for. It's crazy.
I don't know.
You know what? After Hulkamania, and we don't want to get too deep into politics, but after Trumpomania with the Hulk and Kid Rock concert, I think I'm on the Trump train right now. He dodged a bullet. I'm
good. Nope.
Nope.
I'm voting for the third party, whatever it is.
I don't
even know who's running, but that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again,
thanks,
guys, for joining us. We are not liberals, and we are not conservatives either way.
We're just here.
We're just people.
I can't even vote yet.
But thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We always appreciate you being part of the show.
Yeah, we love it.
If you can, go over and check out Patreon. We have a little $3 tier that would really
out.
help. We are on that sticker train. We're about to send those out.
Yep, I've got. Go ahead, and if you want stickers, continue to send those in. You can go to YouTube still.
It's in the YouTube description or whatever.
It's on the YouTube community, like the community page on YouTube. It's still there, and it's also on Twitter. So
and if you can't find
Instagram's
it, let us
not
know.
link friendly, so I didn't put the link on Instagram because you can't make a clickable link on the post. So I wanted to make it simple for the user. So everybody has either X account or YouTube. You have one or the other. More than likely you have a YouTube. So if you do, just go over to youtube.com/@BWAAAKOTH. And you should be able to find that on the community page. If you can't, email me at bwaaaakoth.com. And you know what I'll do? I'll email you back the link.
That is great.
The link makes it easier for us. You could send me your address just straight up in the email, but I would rather it go all to an aggregated point to make it easier for me and Mike. And that really, like, it's a point of accountability because it's not lost in a sea of emails. So because sometimes it happens, it gets lost, and there's so many emails coming and going that I might not find it or might not see it. So
mine go by so fast. Hey, by the way, I found out Friday that I will be gone August 18th through the 22nd.
Okay.
So we'll do something that week, something special. But I am going to Washington D.C. To go to Podcast Movement, another one of the podcast conferences.
Yeah. Good luck.
And what I'll try to do is maybe we can do a remote episode while I'm there.
That would be fun. That'd be fun. Yeah.
And if I think about it, maybe I'll take a little recorder and I can record people and just ask them about King of the Hill.
We need to con Corey into getting a live view backpack, one of the live streaming backpacks that the streamers use.
They got one over at Hippodrome
for that kind of stuff. We need one of those because they got those.
Yeah, there's one over there at the Hippodrome.
Badass kits.
Yeah, they had it a few years back.
Yeah,
I know it's
we need
still over
we need something like that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us again. Remember, you can check the
appreciate it.
video on YouTube for the Monday episodes or on Spotify for the Monday episodes. Everywhere else you're going to get your podcast as normal. And thank you again for joining us.
Oui, Matanye.
Dear God, we Matanye indeed. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.